Hi, I'm Hainan Landa, CEO of Optimal Networks. We have been helping our clients with their technology and their security needs for 3 decades now, and the pandemic has changed everything. Most people are working in some kind of a hybrid mode, a little bit at home, a little bit at the office, and this has changed our thoughts about security. So I'm very pleased to present to you one of the highlights of our recent re-entry series, our very own Frank Schipani. Frank has decades of experience in IT and in security, and he is going to talk to us about how to stop securing your network and start securing your data. Enjoy.
Thanks, Hainan. I'm going to talk for just not too long, not trying to keep it to 10 or so minutes, but I want to just kind of start conversation and have a lot of questions. Don't wait till the end. If you have questions at any point, just shout out your question. I'm going to go a little informal here. I'm going to try to use a whiteboard rather than, I hate PowerPoint slides. So I'm going to do this whiteboard thing. And I just want to talk about just sort of how there's been a paradigm shift in what we're seeing. We all know that, several of you said, we made this transition from traditional being in the office to everybody working remotely. And, for most of you, it was pretty seamless. All Optimal clients, I would say, it's seamless, across the board, industry wide. Some has been seamless and some has been not. But the paradigm has changed, right? So I want to talk about, what things were like before, what things are like now, and where are we going? Because I think it's important to really understand, to take a holistic look at, where we've come from and where we're going, so we can know, better how to deal with all the different little pieces of it. Right, so let's talk at a high level for just the beginning. So let's see if I make this whiteboard thing work here. Where are my whiteboard controls? There we go. All right, so traditional. This is the old, I'll call the old paradigm. Right, so the traditional thing. This was our office, right? And all of our stuff was in the office. And what is our stuff? We have all of our data. That's data. That's what my data looks like. Right, and we've got our people, right? All our people working. This may or may not look like your people, but maybe some Optimal lights look like that, right? And all of our stuff was.
Frank, this is some incredible mastery of the whiteboard. I'm very impressed.
It's nice, huh? I got my fancy electronic pen here. Might as well use it. So all of our stuff was in this office, in this box, right? Made of bricks that we all went to every day, and all our stuff was there, and it was kept safe by being inside those walls, right? And we had a firewall here that protected all the stuff, because you couldn't get in and out of this environment without, electronically, without going through the firewall. And also, a lot of our data protection was physical. Like if you could get in the door of the office and sit down at a desk and sit at a computer and work, then you were, you had access to stuff. If you couldn't get in the building, you didn't have access to stuff. And a lot of our data security was based on that physical security. All right, so this is what stuff looked like before. And we had a few things that maybe could get through this, our email, maybe we had a Citrix or VPN connection to get in and out, but it was very limited, very narrow view through that, that tunnel into our environment. If you're a remote worker, you came in that way, or that was it. Like that was all you had. Right? It was very simple. If you were, as far as security, you wanted to protect yourself from the bad people, right? So here's our cyber attacker. Here's the bad guy, right? Not bud, bad guy. And he wants to get in, right? But he can't get in the physical building, hopefully, although they have ways of trying to do that. And he, if he tries to break in the firewall, our firewall is going to bounce him out, right? Because he doesn't have credentials, and our firewall is pretty good at keeping the bad people out, right? And that's a paradigm that worked pretty well. All right, let's see how I clear all this. Okay, so now what do things look like? What are things starting to look like now? Right, it's a whole new paradigm, right? So now we still have the office. Switch my color back to black here. We still have our office, we still have all our stuff, and we still have, some of our people are now going back to the office, right? Some percentage, what we're hearing across the board is, what people plan or what they're already doing is, maybe 40, 50, 60% of people they expect in the office. Or maybe it's going to be a 3-day, 2-day split, something like that. But, let's say half the people will be in the office and half not. And we may still have some data in the office, but where increasingly is our data, right? So we have the cloud. What is the cloud? I remember it not being that long ago when we were answering the question for people, what is the cloud? People had no idea what this thing was. That wasn't that long ago, 5, 6 years ago. We were still struggling to figure out what this was. Now I think we have an idea sort of what the cloud is. I want to drill down on that a little bit and talk about, where the cloud is, right? How many clouds there are, right? So here's one, maybe Office 365. We have a bunch of stuff there, right? We've seen a huge increase in use of Teams and SharePoint and things like that starting at the pandemic. Those are tools that have been around for many years, but now people are actually using them a lot. But think about some other systems you have out there. This one was really one of the first that moved to the cloud, your HR systems, right? You may have a document management system of some sorts. If you're a law firm, particularly, maybe your finance system is cloud-based. It could be QuickBooks Online. It could be, a time billing system or accounting package specific to your industry. But a lot of times those things are in the cloud. And there's lots of other things too. Think about OneDrive and Dropbox and Box and, SafeShare and all kinds of things like that. These are all different cloud services. But the point is, they're no longer in your office, right? They're all over the place and they're in multiple places. And now also pandemic and post-pandemic, where are your people? Your people are all over the place as well, right? So some of them are in the office and some of them are all over, right? And they're all accessing these things directly, whether they're in the office or whether they're remote, right? And this is what they expect. They expect these things to just be available to them no matter what. Right. So you look at this diagram, and I didn't even bother to put the firewall in here because all this access, even for the people in the office, is not really going through the firewall. I mean, technically it's going through the firewall, but the firewall doesn't even know what it is, doesn't know that you're going to Office 365. It just lets that traffic through, right? So this stuff is spread all over the place. And the point of this is we need to understand that whereas before in the old paradigm, all we had to do was protect our building, right? Protect this, all our stuff was in the office and we protected the office, right? That was protect the network. And also I want to remind people that we are not advocating at all for not doing that anymore. We still need to do that, of course. But we have all these other things to protect as well, right? So where the HR data is, where the document management data is, where the finance data is, all those things individually need to be protected. Okay, so what's changed really between the old paradigm and then into the pandemic, and what do we expect going forward? What we're seeing is fewer people are content with the old way anymore. Whereas, for years and years and years and years and years, that system I described in the beginning, where if you had to work remotely every once in a while, or even with some folks that worked remotely permanently, because there were some of those, they were okay with that Citrix or VPN or limited access to their data. That was okay. That was the standard. But they're not satisfied with that anymore. They've seen that it can be different now, and they want it to always be better than that. They want easy access to their stuff from any place, right? This has been something that's been possible for a long time, but we really didn't need to accentuate again because the expectations really weren't there. But now the expectation is it doesn't matter where I am and really what device I'm coming from. I want to be able to access my stuff no matter what, anytime I want, any way I want, right? Cloud providers have been around for a long time, but for a long time, many of us kind of ignored the impact that had on our approach to data management. So in a lot of instances, maybe there was some limited amount of stuff that somebody put in SharePoint, right? But it was just like a tiny percentage of our stuff. I'm going to just use the term stuff, meaning like all of our important data and all of our resources that are important to our organization, our stuff, right? There's a limited amount of stuff.
That's a technical term. Stuff.
Technical term. Stuff and things. But we could almost kind of ignore it. We say like, well, it took Microsoft, so it's safe, right? Then we started moving more stuff there, right? Maybe our email went to Office 365. Maybe somebody, has some limited use of something like Box to store some things or to share data with outside people. But it was still a relatively small amount of our stuff, small percentage of our stuff. But that's changing now. You see an environment like in this picture right here, where, and some of you have said this, all of our stuff is in the cloud, 100%, right? And a lot of us are getting closer and closer to that mark where all of our stuff or almost all of our stuff is in the cloud. Yet we're still in the mindset of we haven't really paid attention to how those things are being protected. All right, so what do we do with this, right? Let me clear my image again here. Start over. So first off, is that stuff safe where it is in these various cloud services? So, a lot of people, kind of try to answer this question and don't realize that the question has two parts. And a lot of times we focus on only one part of it, which is it safe with this vendor, right? So I've put all this stuff in Office 365. It's with Microsoft and, well, is it safe there? I think a lot of people now, where even just 2 years ago, people were saying, I'd rather I have it because I can keep it more safe than Microsoft. I think people are realizing now that that's not true. There's no way that we as small organizations can keep our stuff as safe as Microsoft can, because Microsoft is a gigantic corporation with thousands and thousands of people whose job it is to keep that stuff safe. And they do a really good job of it. And that's the case with almost all cloud providers, anyone that Optimal is going to deal with for sure. They are pretty rock solid. Could something happen? Yes, but it's pretty rare that something does happen. So they're doing their part to keep the stuff safe, but that's only one side of it. That's only one part of the question. What are we doing to keep that stuff safe? Because yes, Microsoft will have all kinds of ways to keep attackers from directly getting access to that stuff through some backdoor. But if Microsoft thinks that someone is us, but they're not us, right? Because they've gotten our credentials, well, they don't know, and they let that, they let the attacker in, and they get access to all your stuff. So that's on us. Microsoft's not going to do that for us. Microsoft is not going to protect our credentials. Microsoft isn't going to make sure we've got patches on our workstations and antivirus on our workstations. That's on us. That's the part that we have to do. So, think about what are the risks to that stuff that we have out there? Is an attacker going to go after Microsoft directly? Like I said, no, they're probably not going to do that, because it's just so much harder. But they know that they can go after us. That's where the vulnerability is. So the vulnerability with those cloud systems, and that I'm talking about Microsoft as an example, but all those other ones I listed, any of them, it's really the same situation. The vulnerability is you and your access to the cloud. When I say you, I'm talking about anybody who's in your organization who's accessing that stuff, or even anybody outside your organization that's accessing that stuff. It's the people. The people are the weak link, all of us. Right. So what are the specifics there? Weak passwords that can be easily guessed. If you don't have multi-factor authentication on your systems, if you have accounts that are left open after people leave, or you have service accounts or vendor accounts that aren't in use, that you've lost track of. You have computers or mobile devices that people use to access your stuff, but they're not protected, right? They don't have antivirus on them. Maybe malware got installed on them, and those are ways that the attackers can get in to see your stuff from your unprotected PCs. And then training, this is a huge part of it too. Do your people know how to keep themselves, their computers, and the company's stuff safe, right? There's a lot of things that people need to know to be able to keep all this stuff safe. So what should we be doing? We should be, the first step, I always advocate, knowing where your stuff is. Make a list. And I call this a data inventory, right? So now that our stuff is all over the place, again, in the old paradigm, all of our stuff was in one place. We had a server or a couple of servers, file server that had all of our files on it, right? And either you were an employee and you had access to all that stuff, or you weren't an employee and you didn't have access to all that stuff. It was that simple. Well, it's not that simple anymore. We need to know where our stuff is. We didn't need a list of that one server. We knew it was there. But now we get we have some stuff in Office 365. We have some stuff in SharePoint, some stuff in Teams, some stuff in their HR system, some stuff here, some stuff there. It's all over the place. You need to know where it is. You need to know who has access to it. You need to know how you're backing it up. Right. So that's a first step in protecting all of this information, is knowing where the heck it is. So this is a really important first step.
I hope you enjoyed Frank's presentation. If you need more information, there is certainly an article that we wrote about it, and you are always welcome to reach out to me if I can help on any of the topics Frank discussed. Thank you so much.
you.